Everybody, welcome once again to Nerds with Alcohol. I'm Russ.
And I'm Chris.
And as you can see, we have a very special episode of Nerds with Alcohol today, as we are joined by many guests, some you are familiar with and a few that you are not. Guys, this is Chris and my gaming group, the majority of this anyway, that we have been working on a D&D campaign.
Yeah. Did you say what episode it was?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said it is 191. 191! Welcome back to the
in various nerd basements and other rooms.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking D&D today, guys. We're gonna be talking about our D&D group and about different kind of announcements about the D&D group. And so hopefully, you guys you'll have a great time, and everybody else here will have a great time. And we've been looking forward to this for quite a while, Chris, haven't we?
Yes. This is something I've been working on for close to a year now. So
yeah, we've had this in the works for a while. So first of all, hope everybody had a great week. We're going to kind of skip over the whole, how was your week kind of thing. We're going to kind of dive right in a lot of it. I will ask, who's drinking tonight?
Me.
Everybody drinking. Yes, we're all drinking. Why don't we real quick go through what we're drinking. Just kind of give it a quick once over, not necessarily the extensive descriptions we give every week, but yeah, let us know what you're drinking tonight. Why don't we start with you, Ed, since you've been on the show a couple of times.
Oh gosh. Okay, I am drinking a wonderful Blue Sky Dr. Pepper knockoff. Eddie Bouquet. Add some sweet notes of how many flavors was Dr. Pepper supposed to have originally? Like 47 flavors back in the day they used to advertise. I'm showing my age. So yeah, no alcohol for me, just a soda.
Right on. Okay. How about the lovely Renee, who's also been on the show a few times, Chris's wife and our web mistress.
Social media manager.
There we go.
Well, I try. I am actually drinking Totally Strawberry, the brand new release from Bee Nectar.
Awesome.
It actually shipped out of the warehouse today, so it should be hitting markets within the month.
Awesome, great. I will be sure to hit up my bottle shop at the 9 in Hilton Bottle Shop, and I'm sure it'll be there. Well, how about Ian and Sydney? Ian, who also works at Bee Nectar.
And has been on the show.
And has been on the show before.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah.
He was our only musical guest so far.
Well, unless you count Polly.
Well, that's true. But okay, so
true.
he's the only one that actually played on the show.
That's true. That's correct.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you guys drinking?
Sydney's not drinking because it's a weekday. And
I'm drinking spicy water.
okay, yeah.
I'm drinking spicy water.
We got a carbonated sparkling water thing, and she's been playing with that. I'm drinking.
Oh, that looks like a Huna Hoopalicious.
It is.
I know that can.
IPAs. I don't like them, but I like
And you made me.
American brewers overhop their IPAs, and they add them too soon into the boil, and it makes them bitter and awful. But this one's great.
Okay.
I think my drink is the best. Spicy water, number one.
Hey man, I've heard a lot of great things about those basically soda machine things. Those are, I mean, if I wasn't addicted to Pepsi, I'd pick up one of those things, man. It sounds pretty cool.
You can only do water though, which is the unfortunate thing.
Oh, okay.
Sounds fine.
Flavor them afterwards.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What about you, Pete?
Yeah, Pete, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Jolly Pumpkin Kavik, I believe is how it's called.
Kavik?
It is a Kavik. Yes, Kavik.
Nice.
It is a fruit oak age saison ale brewed with blackberry, lime, and salt.
That
And,
sounds delicious.
It is quite tasty, and I saved the last bottle for the last couple of weeks just for the show.
Oh,
Nice.
Awesome. Well, tonight I am just sticking with one of my traditional triple jams from Blake's. Gotta love this stuff. Even though Blake's has been a little controversial of late,
Really?
I still gotta say I love the majority of their products. They make some great ciders, and this is one of my favorites. So triple jam. What about you, Chris?
Currently, I'm actually drinking two different things tonight because right now I'm drinking some alcoholic red pop.
Nice.
Wow.
And
nice.
and then the same thing Renee's drinking. And then
Right.
I will be changing up to Mosaic Promise, which is one of my favorite IPAs. It's a smash IPA, single malt, single hop. It was supposed to only be a one-time thing that Founders did for their Artisan series, and people loved it so much they said, okay, fine, we'll make it a seasonal. So it comes out every year right around this time, and I usually pick up a lot of it while it's out. So
Oh, you're
Yeah,
like
we both like it.
What was that, Sydney?
so you guys are like me with my gin. Every time Summer Solstice comes out from Hendrix, I buy a shit ton, and I have 4 bottles in the house.
Nice.
Renee, when's the next batch of Black Fang coming out? It's coming up on August or on August.
We actually discussed it. I brought it up to my sales team today. I'm like, am I making this year? And they're like, we're having a sales meeting tomorrow, and we'll get back with you. I'm like, well, I have all the ingredients, so let's hope we should be making it. It's probably going to be September.
You don't play with my emotions.
We make it every year for September. I have no doubts that we'll do the same this year.
Right. Awesome. Well, that's great.
All right.
I did want to mention for those of you guys who do listen to the show and haven't listened to the show, I went back to work this week, thankfully, because there's been a lot of weeks of I should be going back anytime now. So the parade company has we are in full swing in production. So thankfully, I am back to painting giant 3-dimensional cartoons and the giant heads, and there will be some way, shape, or form. There will be a Thanksgiving Day parade in Detroit this year. We probably will not have any marching bands, but and honestly, those are good for the commercial breaks anyway. And but we will have floats and balloons. So
Will you have a crowd though? That's the thing. Will they allow spectators?
That's
Look at it.
we're still kind of debating about that. I would imagine there will be some spectators areas, but since we are talking about the end of November, and one hopes that much of the COVID stuff will have progressed to that point where we can gather some more. But at the very least, they'll probably be very controlled, kinds of like, social distancing and stuff. So we'll see. But at the very least, we'll be continuing the tradition of the Thanksgiving Day Parade, which is almost like over 100 years now. So
Cool.
Nice.
Well,
yeah.
Start right off, just to let everybody know what's going on here. As Russ said, this is our gaming group, and we've been playing for almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
With the intention, thank you to a suggestion from Dave Kish.
Mm-hmm.
And actually a couple others I think has said things too, but Dave was the one that really initiated and kind of pushed it a little bit, who said he wanted to see us play D&D rather than just talk about it. So we came up with the idea, started working on building a group of players. We got a mix of both new and old players, and we are now ready to announce that we will be launching the Tavern Knights show very soon.
Correct.
With this group.
Yay.
So
Yeah.
you guys are now
I was-
looking at Tavern Knights.
Yeah.
K-N-I-G-H-T-S.
Yeah, we are really excited about this. Now, for those of you who may have been listening to the show, watching the show since we've been doing it live, the Tavern Knights show will not be like we'll be breaking them up so that there won't be like a 4 or 5 hour show.
Well,
like,
the live stream will be. We're planning on live streaming it, and then we'll break it up and put it on YouTube into smaller chunks.
That's what I meant. The show on YouTube will then be broken up. So if you have an issue and you can't necessarily sit and listen to or dive into a podcast that's 4 to 5 hours like Critical Role can be, don't worry. We will be breaking it up into bite-sized chunks for those of you, so you can digest it more easily. And but I'm really looking forward to it. I can tell you what. Why don't we start? I mean, obviously. Chris is the dungeon master.
Yes, I am running it.
Everybody knows Chris is running it. Why don't we go through every? Now we are missing one of our players.
Rich wasn't able to make it tonight.
Rich could make it, so we do have one more. But why don't we go through each of our characters for our listening audience? Just kind of describe who your character is and their what their character classes and stuff.
Why don't you go ahead and start, Russ?
Okay. My character, his name is Merikaris Korvathin, and he's an Aasimar paladin of what is it? I always forget. Heronius. Yes, he's a paladin of Heronius, and he's I attempt an Irish accent, of course, and some days are better than others. I don't like being surprised and like that. But Merikaris is your traditional sort of very upstanding, sort of paladin. He's got an eye for the ladies, and and of course he has an Aasimar, which was one of those surprising things in his family. They didn't know they had even forgotten there was angel blood in the line. So Merikaris has been a great deal of fun for me. He's honestly, this character. I rolled some amazing stats for this guy. I'm rolling them and they were like, holy crap, 17, 16, 17. So after the adjustment for racial stuff and then at fourth level when I got to add some stuff, I've got 2 18s and a 17 in this, nothing under 12. So he's a really I have to have him up on my D&D Beyond. And he's really been a fun character. I'm really enjoying it. Paladins can be one of those classes that can be kind of limiting, I think, at times, and I'm really enjoying myself with this guy. So why don't we move on to Renee, who is one of our rookies?
Yes. Only started playing D&D with this group, and now I belong to both of Chris's campaigns with another group. As well as Tavern Knights, but in this one I play Klimbrum Iron Fist, who is a dwarven monk who has anger issues. And a badass. She's the one. Unfortunately, Klimbrum has been the one that has kind of probably gone unconscious more often than any other character. I got KO'd twice in a single day. Right, and because as a newbie, I was going more for a concept character and not necessarily the smartest ideal build because I didn't know. Correct. Looking back, I probably would have put my highest stat in dexterity, which I did not do. I went with strength because I wanted her to be a strong monk, not realizing that my AC was in fact based off of dexterity. Hey, it's all right, monks need a high strength too, so so more like leveled her for a concept versus
which is great.
Min-maxing. Right, exactly. And she is a lot of fun, and I really hope Chris doesn't kill my character because I love her. I've painted her twice. Yeah. See, that's the other thing. Well, we'll get into that later, but it has been really cool because this game has started interest for several people in both like a new hobby and then also the extended hobbies that come with gaming, which is like painting minis and stuff like that. Yeah. So, Ed, probably next to Chris and myself, or coupled with Chris and myself, one of the most experienced gamers here. Why don't you tell us about your character? Yeah, old. God. Ed, what? Tell us about your character.
All right, so I am playing Benik Aramaya. He is a human fighter. I have not been a PC in a game until now for about 30 years, and have always been the DM. I've always run games. I've played in other games, but not D&D in particular. So I decided to go as basic as I possibly could with a human fighter. But also my favorite character from back in those days was a Cavalier. So again, going down the route of, because Cavalier builds in 5e are fun, but they aren't exactly the ideal first choice that people normally make for not a battle master or anything like that, which is a big choice. So I took defensive tactics and sentinel feat, and there's a lot of little things that he does that sort of tries to protect the group. So he's a former military officer who, sort of lost people under his command, and now he's very dedicated to not losing anyone else. So he sees the group as sort of his extended platoon or whatever military group, especially Klimbram, who he's got kind of protection over, or protective over.
Yeah, our characters are best friends, like in the game.
Yeah, I have a background of having. So after his military background and sort of losing his way, he ended up in a training scenario at a temple of the open mind in particular, where Klimbram was also training. And so he's been trying to get his act together a little bit. So some of his stats aren't the best. And so it's kind of, thinking back to the old Star Trek of like, he had a wee touch of shore leave. And so he's an older character, coming back, having been inactive. And my favorite thing about him is, in some ways, is I've connected him back to those old stories of what we used to call our Monty Hall days of just handing our characters things. So my old Cavalier had a kingdom and had vassals and defeated orcs in the millions. And I decided that he would be like the great grandson or great grandnephew of this legacy.
That's cool.
His mother had filled him with all of these stories about what his destiny is supposed to be, and they're really poor, and there's nothing. The kingdom is gone. That was his grandfather's kingdom. And so he has this kind of driving underlying destiny that he thinks someday, the Conan model, a king by his own hand, kind of recreate that kingdom. But, he goes through periods of just feeling like, what the heck is going on? This isn't ever going to happen. I'm in a medieval world at 40 years old or almost 40 years old. Like, my time is limited. And then his personality too, I kind of did some things where I borrowed off of like the old movie Ghost Dog, where this idea that like, going straight through the most direct way possible, it doesn't afford you any benefit to go the long way around, just act directly. And so he's often impatient. It's like, come on, let's just do this.
And I like that about his character. And it is kind of funny that you bring up the Monty Hall idea, because every old school gamer, everybody, when we were kids, starting off playing the game when we were like 12, 13, 14, that was the kinds of games we played, was like, what can we get? How can we get it? I want all the best armor and all the best weapons.
Give me all the stuff.
All the shit. Yeah.
Well, we started having dueling dungeon masters, where we would have one dungeon master run a character through something just to give them a power boost to F with the other dungeon master. Literally having these Monty Hall, there was an arms race. I mean, my friend's paladin was level 72 before he retired him.
Jesus Christ. It's funny too, because remember when, a lot of people don't know that necessarily they're playing now. I mean, you could adventure. There was rules for adventuring past level 20. And it was, granted at that level you're fighting, ancient dragons and archdemons and elder gods and stuff like that. So
and beating them.
Yeah.
And it finally got to the point that my friend who started this whole arms race, which was Rob, who Russ knows from our other group, he was the first one that had a demigod. He had risen a character up to this level of demigod, and finally wrote some sort of backstory about how Tiamat killed him off by blasting him face first into his Cheerios one morning. Disgusted with all of us. But it was really Rob's world that he had created, where my first Cavalier had a kingdom, and so it's kind of come full circle. So when I had the opportunity to play a character again in D&D for the first time, and like I said, so freaking long, I was like, I'm going to do something that connects. And gives me a sort of a background. And then some of his personality, I borrowed a lot from, I can't remember his name, but the one dwarf in The Hobbit who shows up at Bag End first and is really cranky. And I can't remember all their names, Biffer, Buffer, Bofer, and all of them.
One of the dwarves.
One of the dwarves, the one with the shaved head that shows up first, who's cranky. He's like, that's
is it Balin? Is it Balin?
Balin. Isn't that the daughter? No, Balin's the one with the white, I think.
Oh,
his brother.
There were 12 of them. It was.
There were 12 or 13, wasn't there? No, 12.
No, there's 12.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, I mean, I think I'm really enjoying. I'm enjoying seeing you play as a player too, because it was something that we discussed how you were feeling kind of burned out at one point being the DM, and then I was like, hey, man, get into it, play in a game, you know. And I think it
there you go.
Really great.
I looked it up quick. It's Dwalin.
Dwalin.
I think
all right.
that's
Pete, how about you tell us about your guy? You're another one of our rookies. You've been,
I think it's the Cola siblings that are all the new ones. In
Yeah.
the group. Rich, our brother, couldn't make it here today. He's the other one that's new. But my character, he's a bit unusual. His name's Euchariah. He is a halfling wizard. I think it's a bit of an odd combination. I was kind of also, just like Renee, kind of going more for a concept character rather than like min-maxing. Like I think that traditionally like an elf would be more inclined to be a wizard for that intelligence boost. But I was really drawn to like a very dexterous wizard. Kind of like not as eloquent as Ed's character, going back off of a lot of a lot of other stories that fed into his character, but I was kind of going like basing off of like Yoda in episode 2, who was using the Force but bouncing around everywhere around Count Dooku in a way. I like the idea of like one that could teleport and move and being able to dodge around, but being able to be pretty good in a fight when like unexpectedly. So I actually rolled pretty well too. I actually had 2 very good rolls, and I actually put my highest into intelligence, but surprisingly, because of halfling, my dexterity is higher than my intelligence. As an 18 versus a 17, even though I put my highest roll into intelligence. So he's more dexterous than he is like where he actually is casting his spells.
That's totally fine, man. That's going to come into play. And just because you don't worry about it. I mean, just because you didn't like put as much thought into the character as say maybe Ed did. I mean, Ed and I have been gaming probably for roughly around the same amount of time, and Merrick Harris does not have near the background that Ed's character has. So
I also have been cramming in all of my Dungeon Master energy into the character. So it's
But I'm having a blast playing him. He's a bit of an oddball. He's oddly dressed. He's got like something that's a little bit gaudy up top. And
loves apple juice.
And he has an affinity for apple juice versus everyone else who likes their ale or wines or
mead or whatever. And you're always looking for juice, and the pub masters are always like, you want what?
And you know what's funny is that what I loved about it was the fact that I didn't plan that in the character. It just kind of came up, and then all of your reaction to it just kind of fed in and like built the character as we're playing. And that's what I loved about it. And that's what I didn't realize. What drew me to D&D, hearing you guys talk about it in the show was really cool, but I didn't really understand it. It was something that I always heard about and always interested in, but then when we're playing it, and then I just kind of threw that out there, like out of the blue, it just kind of came out of nowhere, and your reaction to it was like, all right, I think that I'm going to integrate this as part of my character. And it's just been fun throwing that out there randomly when you guys are all doing.
And honestly, that's one of the best parts about role-playing games is that you know, and the last couple of characters that I've made, with the character I made in Ed's game and a couple of other ones, I've kind of left the character relatively vague so that I can grow the character through the through the game. So I think that's really cool.
But he's a little bit keeps to himself. He is one of the ones that actually came in by himself, I think, overall with the group.
Yeah.
Everyone else was kind of paired off. I was actually the one that was the one-off that wasn't connected somewhere to somebody else. But that is part of my background as well.
Rich was connected to the NPCs, but he wasn't connected to anybody else.
I also like the way, I mean, you've had some of the most memorable role-playing moments in the game. The time you're ready to, at one point you're ready to go up against the dragon, but we go up against a couple of goblins, and you're cowering in a corner.
You literally ran away, and we're like, the fuck.
Yeah, so part of a
it was incredible.
I didn't hear you, Ian.
Bravely ran away.
He bravely ran away.
So part of a halfling trait is they're not actually frightened very easily. They have like a natural advantage against being frightened against pretty much anything. Except my character has a certain
he has issues with goblins.
You've been traumatized, some PTSD,
and yes, something so simple but so common that for all of you, they're just cannon fodder essentially. You're just punching through them, but I can't combat against them. I have to figure out a way to work around it and still be beneficial to it. I know it's a big pain in the butt for you guys during battle.
We all appreciate. The thing is, we all appreciated though.
Yeah.
We appreciated the effort that you made to stay in character. That was really, really cool.
Oh, you're right. I was like, let's fight the dragon.
Yeah, you're like all gun ho to fight this young green dragon, and you're literally in the same session. We get to some goblins, and you just fuck off.
And I missed you. Set my ass out of there. Yes.
Yeah, so.
But it's awesome.
And why the goblin issue? That's the mysteries of our characters. That it's like, don't tell me now. Like I want it to come out and figure out like where did this come from?
And that was great. And that actually came about relatively like about 9 months in. That was probably just a few sessions ago. So that part of my backstory actually came out that Chris introduced. Part of my character kind of revisiting my past, and you were able to kind of understand where that actually came from and then get that understanding for it. I didn't just pull out and bring it out. So.
That was great. So we should move on.
Yeah, move on. Let's go to ladies first over here with Sydney.
Sydney, tell us more about your character.
My character is gaudy as my dice, which is the best. No one's seen my.
I can't see them here.
They're very gaudy.
Yeah, I have a lot of neon, and the harder the reads are and the prettier they are, the better they are for the game.
Sure.
Of not being able to read my own dice, it's a great feature. No, I mean the development of my character is Lauka Asmari. She's a high elf, the sorcerer, because I love being a magic user. I love being DPS.
Lauka was introduced with Marikaris. We were apparently friends as children, and we're both from noble families. So that was I thought that was Chris's idea, and I thought it was a really great way to introduce our characters.
Yeah, and my family crest includes juniper berries because I really like gin. And my bloodline is silver dragon, which is cold because I'm always cold. So I just decided to just put that in. I'm like, yeah, I'm always cold, so let's just put that in there.
You put as much influence in your character of your live self as you could.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much.
I think one of the first games, didn't you wear pointed ears to the game session too? Yeah. I love that.
Didn't both you guys wear that?
Yeah. I love that Lauka has. She's a clothes horse. She's
Zhuzh it up a little.
Yeah. She's a little. She's kind of
I got new garments made, and she paid the seamstress to put some zhuzh in it.
Yeah.
Without my character knowing.
Anytime we find gemstones, she's got to have first pick. The things like is willing to take the extra gemstones in lieu of other payment.
or I just paid for the gemstones with the money I got. And I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
for these things because I need to have them.
We found a fairly valuable, like, enchanted gemstone, and she was like, "I want it." And we're like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute."
I tried my best to hide it.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like,
It fits so well though with like your dragon blood.
yeah, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
The hoarding of the yeah, yeah. It's great. I mean, I love that. I love that she had to take that you had to take mending because
As a
for
spell.
finding she didn't have mending initially, but she got it later so that she could fix her dresses and shit.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I've been rolling really well every time I get pissed that my dress is ripped because it's like I'm like, DM, how damaged is my dress? And he's like, pretty damaged. I'm like, oh.
You remind me of Princess Vespa in Spaceballs a lot of times.
Oh,
Shot my
Shot
hair!
my hair!
I was right there too.
you. Oh my God, please don't get any ideas.
Mm.
I think one of my best moments was when I rolled for a white pony. Or a white.
Yeah.
I was so proud of that. I did not
Yeah.
get the horse, but
And I like it. I like it too, like because it gives Merrick Harris a little more to like kind of like react off of when you do something, and then because we've been friends since childhood. I obviously know the way you are, so I'm just like I no, that's just normal for her. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's almost like I'm the long-suffering, like. Not servant, but the long-suffering kind of like buddy that's like, rolls his eyes. No, that's just Lauka. So, and I like it. I think it's fun,
Yeah, and I think Lauka's like one of the best characters I rolled besides Lou, which Lou was another amazing character that was still one of my favorite. But yeah, I have like 3 17s and like 118.
Nice.
Yeah, some of the character stats were like crazy. I do generous stats anyway because I think characters should be somewhat heroic, but the stats you guys wound up with were just ridiculous for the most
Yeah,
part.
my stats were pretty solid too.
Well,
In game-
except
I mean-
maybe
Yeah.
Ian. Ian and Benek have single digit stats at least in one thing. So
I've been literally gaming since I was 8, and this is probably the best roll I've ever had on characters. Straight short of when you're like, a kid and cheat. This.
it was an 18.
What was
I
that?
didn't see the dice. It was an 18. It was 3.
It's an 18. What, you're gonna call me a fucking liar? God damn it. No, I mean it was like holy shit. So it was really great. Well, last but certainly not least, we have Ian here and his. Tell us about your fucking crazy bard.
Oh,
You wrote a song about it.
start with Phelan Darrow. I'm sorry, you can't say it like that. You have to say it, Phelan Darrow.
I still kind of cringe at that voice.
Jeez. Okay. Dumb. Horny. Loud.
Yeah.
Sometimes obnoxious. He he is what I imagined every bard that is the bardiest bard could have.
He's the bardiest bard that ever barded.
Yeah.
Dad Brannigan in medieval times.
Exactly. I wanted to give him, because I rolled the stats and Chris actually let me roll again because I got trash, but I kept that one bad roll because the rest of them were all decent. I rolled a 7 and I put it in intelligence.
Which is great because half the time I'm like, all right, make a history check. And he looks at it and goes, oh shit. Like, that's what you do as a bard.
Yeah. But it worked out because I ended up playing a Valor Bard, and Valor Bards are very scrappy. They have medium armor proficiency, they can carry heavy weapons. Like, I'm more of a fighty bard as opposed to a knowledge bard. I can still cast spells and buff and debuff people.
You
but
got only your knowledge when you were drinking, so you don't remember it well.
sure. But yeah, he's actually inspired by my LARP character. And I've been doing this thing where like I played him in a couple campaigns, and he's sort of for me become this Doctor Who or like Quantum Leap character. Where
oh boy.
Oh boy.
Many campaigns, one character.
And he's he's been everywhere and done everything. Maybe not in level as it works in stats, but he's got so many stories. Like I think I referenced one time that I killed a dragon, and then all of the other characters, they were like, "You didn't fucking do that." Shut up.
But yet you at work told me about in your campaign that you guys killed a dragon at like level 2.
Fuck.
The game was very nice.
So he's got a little bit of Gaston. He's got a little bit of Zap Brannigan. Obviously some Kirk there, and he's just positive, and I like him to be the everything's gonna be fine, I'm here kind of.
Yeah. Brannigan, though, I think your character successfully like slept with half the population.
Not quite yet, but yeah.
Getting there. Between the two of us. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was some really hilarious shit. I mean, we're getting drunk in a tavern, and you and I were able to seduce the tavern wenches, and they like traded. The girls like one went up. With
one set, and we woke up with each other's.
Right. Yeah, that was what it was. And I'm just like, oh, this is the kind of thing that it's gonna send Marikaris to like confession. I'm like, oh.
But the ramifications of that event, it haunted us for 2 sessions.
It's because they both failed their Constitution saves.
Yeah.
Right, because we were both exhausted. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like my character also got laid that night, but I made my roll.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Character inspired so much, and I even came up with like a new character that maybe down the line I'll play in a different campaign, and I've decided is the descendant of Phelan Darrow.
Nice. I really like the way that you play him, because you really do play up that 7 intelligence,
Yeah.
And because like he's not particularly like book smart, he's not, but I think isn't your wisdom substantially higher?
Yeah.
So I mean, he's just not. I'd see him more so as like kind of just uneducated, but not particularly really stupid.
He might be a little like just a dash of illiteracy, but he's good for moral support.
Maybe a little impetuous,
You're like a little braggadocious too, because you kind of just like say, "Wow, I can do this." And
but I don't particularly care for the idea of the dump stat. I think every stat is important. So when you do choose to put a lower number in a stat, I really think it's important that it's addressed and that you are doing.
Because all of the blood, instead of being in his brain, is in his dick.
Right.
That's because you're pretty.
Yeah, he's pretty, pretty. And
that's one of the things that 5th edition, I think, has addressed is the dump stat, because there really isn't a dump stat anymore, because there aren't just the 3 saving throws or whatever. Now it's make an int saving throw for certain things, or a wisdom saving throw, or a charisma saving throw, or con, or even strength. I mean, there are different things depending on what spells or what effects you're going up against that you have to make saving throws based on every single one of your stats.
Right. So yeah, I mean, yes, you may statistically there is going to be at least 1, if not 2, that are going to be on the lower end. But yeah, they're all something still to take into account, So
something that I cherish.
Yeah. So we also do have like I said, your other brother couldn't be here with us.
Rich.
So Rich. So his character is called Octavian, and he is our cleric. And
the cleric of Pelor.
Yeah, we do actually have quite a bit of spell throwing in this.
So there are 7 people in this group. You have 2 frontline fighters, 1 kind of sideline fighter, 3 arcane casters, and a cleric. You have no rogues.
Correct.
I almost was
Yep.
when I thought that. Because I was going to bring back Lou, and I decided not to. Lou
Yeah,
is-
that has proven to be a little difficult at times. Now, thankfully, bards can kind of double as a rogue at times, depending on the skills and stuff that you choose. But
You got a pretty sneaky monk too.
we
I
do
was
have
going
we
to say
do
so
right.
can monks.
We do have the sneaky monk too. So we've basically got 2 halves or maybe 2/4 of a rogue,
just
and maybe so. Hopefully,
Man, I'd love
and
sneak
your
attack
wizard,
damage,
the
though.
wizard has thieves tools now, doesn't he?
I did. I bought these tools, so I kind of dabble in that. I have with a high dex, I have like pretty good stealth and.
Yeah, you're just not
I mean-
proficient in the thieves tools.
Correct. Yes, I realized that. I think a session or two ago. So I did buy them, so at least we have them. It was the first time we had them all year.
so yeah. So we don't have a rogue, and it is kind of funny that we have all of these very pretty variant classes and stuff like that, but we don't have one of the base like kinds of classes. So it has bit us in the ass a few times. There may be some times, Chris, that we might have to maybe hire some roguish character from the village to join us on some of our more
You'll have to see if you can do that. Yeah.
yeah.
Or just wait till level 6.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd thought at one point about trying to work in a in-character rationale for like a dip in rogue, but then the longer my character's gone on, I sort of developed away from that. I'm like, I don't see it anymore. So it's funny how characters change and evolve over the course. Even a character that I've done all of this background with, like I had a thought and I kind of figured out a rationale. I can't even remember it now because it just doesn't seem to apply anymore.
Right. I actually really like the way that the cavalier direction you've gone, because I always liked the cavalier class. I mean, you go back to original D&D. Cavalier, I believe, was one of the classes that was introduced in the original Unearthed Arcana book.
Yes, it was.
And and it was essentially a paladin without the paladin abilities. It was specifically a mounted warrior, a mounted, knight, a true knight. And it was just this, it's just a really kind of a cool character concept. If I remember correctly, though, it was kind of broken, or there were problems. I can't. It's been so long, I can't remember. But I do like the fact that you have gotten back into it and are taking that character concept. It's really, really fucking cool.
I have to say that I actually have enjoyed this game over the last year probably more than just about any other game that I've run in the last at least 10 years.
It has been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun.
That, yeah.
I think seeing the new players and watching them come along and get into their characters has been fantastic. Especially the 3 new ones. I mean, they just have grasped onto this game and the actual role-playing aspect of it. I play in another campaign that Renee's in also, and it's a bunch of people that have been playing for 30, 40 years like me, and it's that old jaded player. It's that just go in and kill things. It's more like we're playing a video game than actually role-playing out situations. They'll do that at times, but role-playing for role-playing's sake never happens.
Yeah. And I think we are seeing that more so with the newer players, the younger generation of gamers, where they get, because they do have the examples of Critical Role and some of these other really big gaming D&D games that are being on TV, because you've got actors that are doing it. And I've played in games where they, with a bunch of theater geeks and stuff like that, where their role-playing was heavy, particularly in World of Darkness games. There was a lot of
World of Darkness is all about the storytelling.
Right, that's the way it was built. So so there were a lot more role playing in those than say D&D for the most part. But we're seeing, like I said, we're seeing that more and more now, and I think I really appreciate it. Like honestly, the game that Ed and I were in when I was under his DMing, we were all but one. We're all experienced gamers that have been playing since we were kids. I think the other guy Russ was the only one who was a bit of a rookie, and because he was just more familiar with playing video games. And I'll tell you one thing though, Ed, he jumped right in, both feet, man. He got Russ got to know his character and the rules, ins and outs of his rules. He started off with a druid, and no, he started off with a paladin, and then decided to switch over to druid. Because
him and I developed a mechanic. He sweat that a lot. He was like, I don't know what to do, and we talked a lot about it. We ended up developing a mechanic where he basically every level that the party went up, he basically multi-class, but every level the party went up, his paladin level went down 1 and his druid level went up 2.
Okay.
So eventually he was like untraining his paladin and replacing it with druid levels. Because I didn't want to just some sort of, I didn't want him to play a character he didn't want to play.
Right.
And especially as a new player, to disincentivize his involvement. And who knew when we could introduce somebody else? And he loved he loved the character's personality, just the class didn't match. So, like, what could we do that would, slowly allow him to transform? And then that allowed him too to stop that. At one point, he thought, okay, this is really beneficial for me to have like a 3-level dip in Paladin, because I can't remember the specialty that it was, but it had to do with nature. He was like a nature paladin.
Yeah, he was an elf, and he was worshipped a nature god.
Yeah, and he was really into this idea of kind of holding on to that little bit of paladin, and then allowing and then how he spent most of his time in that giant spider form.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing. Once he discovered wild shape, that was when he was all about it. So.
Oh yeah. Very practical with it, up on the walls, upside down on the ceiling. Like, he definitely challenged things. And that, I think that's what the beauty of having newer players versus people that have been playing it for years. Like, you begin to, you get tunnel vision. You get sort of myopic about your options, and it's so refreshing to play with new people who don't have that baggage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it is funny how people do get like tunnel vision about their characters, because there are so many options. Like, there's just like dozens and dozens of different like character classes and stuff that you can play. Plus, if you add on the different racial kind of different things and all the different kinds of things, you can create just about anything in D&D. Or thankfully, in this, since they've actually really adjusted the system, and D&D is actually considered one of the more rigid, character creation systems. You want to look at like some of the like Champions, which was way more one, complex, but also two, open about what you could create. But still, there's so many different options that you can damn near create anything. I think a lot of it comes down to just like people have their preferences of what they like to play, and sometimes they fear jumping away from what they're comfortable with, and
or even just how the game is played. Like, you listen at the door, you check for traps, you do this, you do that. You don't do X, Y, and Z, and there's all these kind of.
You don't check for traps and you drop the ceiling on your head.
There you go.
There you go. Like, you forget about that and you don't anticipate it, but that's the beauty of new players. Even though I've been listening to Critical Role and trying to get a grasp of it, I don't have that instinct yet to just do what comes naturally to an experienced player that don't trust anything almost.
I don't know.
Soraya, even too, that time, it was brilliant. Like, this a wizard who normally slings spells, like, just swings out. And didn't you kill something that ran out of your melee range because you happen to have your staff out or something like that?
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
We were all laughing. Oh my gosh.
It's always great when somebody can think outside of the box. Like, I was listening to Critical Role today, and they were trapped in a room. The characters were trapped in a room, and this one guest that they had was playing for a couple episodes. She was this druid, and she was like, "Well, is there a keyhole?" And Matt's like, "Yeah, there's a keyhole." She's like, "Can I wild shape into something really tiny and go outside, go through the keyhole, and then open the door from the outside?" And he went, "Well, yeah, that would work."
That's second campaign.
Right,
that's
Mika Burton, right?
Mika Burton, right? Yeah.
Yeah, LeVar Burton's daughter.
Oh, right. That's right. Wow, fuck. I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they ended up doing that, but it was still kind of like, hey, what a fucking great idea, you know? A lot of it just comes down to thinking outside the box, thinking around your...
Off the map,
I saw-
base safe.
I saw Sydney trying to talk, and she was getting overpowered, so I didn't hear what she said.
Sydney, what did you have something to say?
Were you going to talk about Mitch when he did that?
Oh yeah.
He did something. Okay, a friend of ours did something very, very similar to that in our campaign. And these are new-ish players. We've all played like maybe 3 or 4 campaigns before.
Yeah.
He was trapped in a room with no visible exit, and he plays a Goliath.
Yep, that's afraid of everything.
He has.
Okay.
He's just very timid, very scared. Like, he got locked in this room and he started to cry. But then he eventually got himself out by summoning an earth elemental and then merging with that earth elemental. And then the earth elemental passed through the stone of the wall and he was out. And the DM, like, it's one of those things where you see the DM, like, hands on the head, like, yeah, I guess it works.
when you kind of got to give it to them just for creativity, you know, and that's what I've seen with new players. You know, I've seen more than anything. Like a new player will look at the rules, at a spell or whatever else, and go, and think about a new way to use it. And I think that's one of the things that's really great about it.
Let's actually talk for a second about what the plan was when we started this. So when we were talking about it originally, like we said, Dave Kish, one of our earliest fans and one of our biggest supporters for this show, had kind of challenged us to do this. He's like, I want to see you guys play in a game, or see one of you run a game and one of you playing it. So when we first started approaching it, I had heard about Ed and I had met him through Russ. And I had heard about what a great DM he was. And so I actually approached Ed about actually running the game because I also haven't played in a long time. And he just didn't have time for it at the time. So I'm like, I said, fine, I'll run it because I had some ideas that I've been wanting to run anyway. And I've been DMing for years, so I do enjoy it. And when we started coming up with the idea of who we wanted to play, we were like, well, let's bring Ed in because he doesn't ever get to play. And then let's try and find like an even mix of experienced and new players, so that we get those new eyes, and so that it is actually, you know, the old school versus new, you know, the newbies type of thing. Not really versus, but a combo of the two, and so we can see, like, you know, how does someone approach the game when they're first starting to play. And that was kind of the concept that we had. So we got 3 new players in Renee and both of her brothers, Pete and Rich.
Yeah, who all are siblings.
Yeah,
right.
And I was originally looking for 6 players total, and then we got Ian, and Sydney came along too, and I was fine with that because it was I liked the idea of having another woman in the group as well, because I think it gives a good dynamic. So. In all honesty, I'd have taken Sydney over Ian. So it's
that's the picture. That's a picture of for the podcast. Right
there. Thank God he's wearing pants, though. I mean, wearing pants.
But no, I am extremely happy with this group. It is a large group and it's a lot to manage. But that was the concept originally, was to have like 6 players and have a good mix. And I still think it's funny that we have 7 players and still no rogue. That actually does make me giggle every time. And actually, Renee's playing a rogue in the other campaign, and after seeing what she can do at like 7th level in that campaign, I'm glad there's no rogue in this fucking group.
Oh man,
sneak attack
I
is
love
nasty.
sneak attack so much. Sneak attack is awesome.
That was a rogue played. Oh my god, I had a real disadvantage because we was a horrendous alcoholic. So
no.
So he wouldn't get drunk easily because he was an elf. But when he did, I had a real disadvantage.
You played an elf that was like what, 400 years old?
Yeah, that was cursed to look like a little boy from a witch, and he just sounded like Danny DeVito, basically playing a rogue. he was against magic because he's like, fuck this. I got cursed by magic after like 100 years of trying to figure out how to make himself an adult. He's like, nah. And he became a rogue so he could steal alcohol from people in the woods because he refused to be called a halfling.
I like it. That's a great concept. That's awesome. A cursed character, man.
Lou is my favorite, one of my favorite characters. The voice hurt my throat so much. I think when we played that short where I was the Bart Gungeon Roxy, that tore up the throat a little bit, but that was basically what the voice.
Now, Sydney, how long have you been playing? I know you're not a complete rookie, but you're still kind of relatively new.
Yeah, I think it's been 3 years. 3 years, because the first campaign was the one that you were a part of for that with Mitch.
Oh, it's been like 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Okay, I'd still consider that pretty new to the game and whatnot. You're not like Chris or Ed and I have been playing for like over 30 years and they're crotchety.
41 this Christmas.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And I had your birthday and then your D&D birthday.
Because I started with the red box when I was 9 years old.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. Like what was some of our everybody's first experiences with gaming?
Red box.
Red box. Mine too. I was 8, and one of my friends that I played soccer with, he had me over one day and we played D&D. And like I said, I was 8 years old, and at that point, you're basically just sitting at telling a story and rolling dice. I mean, you're not really sticking to the rules all that closely. But I played consistently with a couple other friends, and it was always one of those things. And that was the other thing too. One of my best friends that I grew up with, his dad played as well. So he used to run game school for us and stuff. And so they always had all of the books and all stuff. So the red box, the blue box, the green box.
Yeah, I don't have my red box anymore, but I do have the red box book, my original red book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
nice.
Some really classic stuff. What about you, Ed? You about the same, the red box?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's a very satanic panic kind of story. So I was 8 years old, the same as Russ, but the neighborhood bully kid who was like the Eddie Haskell, for those of you that remember Leave It to Beaver, he was the Eddie Haskell of the neighborhood, sweet talk all the parents, but always causing trouble, getting arrested, and he introduced...
At 8 years old?
He was considerably older. He was 12, 13 years old, but we already knew he was old. And he introduced a bunch of us, and he had all the AD&D books and some of the red box. And then that Christmas, we all begged our parents. I got the expert set. My best friend got the basic box, and I think I got the monster manual or something like that. And the rest is history. It was just because this kid introduced us. I never ended up playing with him again except for that one time, but it was enough to kind of get us hooked. And I went to private, religious school, and I'd get a lot of slack from the teachers. And there were certain teachers that were cool about it. They thought it was really creative. And then other teachers who wanted us to leave it at home. When I had my monster manual, I always remember, I think it was 4th grade or something. I had my monster manual and I'm flipping through it. And the teacher gets mad at me and wants to look at it. And she opens the book and take a wild guess what letter of the alphabet she opened up to.
S.
D.
Oh, D? Oh, I was figuring succubus, maybe, because I think...
Demons and devils in a religious school, and that was the last time I brought it. And then we all waited for 5th grade, because the 5th grade teacher had a reputation for being very pro RPGs. He thought it was a creative, wonderful thing. And then and then I think after years of D&D, we transitioned to things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Robotech, and then Rifts, and then Darkness dropped, and none of us looked back. And it wasn't until 5th edition came around that kind of pulled me back into D&D.
It has been pretty spectacular that 5th edition has really brought a lot of people back to D&D. People that had signed off on it after, particularly when 4th edition came out and kind of completely fucked it up. I was playing Pathfinder for years, and then
I've never played Pathfinder.
It's great.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's great. It's
I always heard it was like D&D 3.75.
It's exactly the best description for it. And from what I understand, the new edition, the second edition Pathfinder, is a another kind of quantum leap forward. It's another improvement on it.
Yeah, when you were talking earlier about the customization, Pathfinder kind of took that and ran with it. Like anything you could come up with, at least in first edition, and now slowly, because I picked up the second edition stuff, because at one point when I was trying to struggle to refresh my interest in running games, I thought about switching to 2E Pathfinder second edition specifically for that reason. So I've been picking up the books, and they're slowly layering in other character classes that to make that customization. But no two characters, I think, would ever be very even similar on paper, much less, our character concepts make us individual characters. But even on paper, I don't think you'll end up with two characters. There's so many options, which can be very overwhelming. I think 5e is a great sort of start for people.
Yeah.
I like the way they've streamlined like combat in 5e.
Yes.
It's a lot easier. I play in a 3.5 campaign, and I've been trying to convince the DM to convert it over to 5th, and he doesn't want to do it because we're too far in, and I can understand that. But playing that, it's so cumbersome. The fights there's so much math you have to do, and there's so much you have to think about. It's like, oh, I take a 5-foot step. Okay, now I can't move, or he gets an attack of opportunity, but I can take that 5-foot step to get out of melee range, and then I can cast a spell. And there, and all right, now the paladin in the group, he has power attack because it's one of his feats, and so he's got to figure out, all right, well, if I do that, then it's all right. So then my pluses are this, and he's usually sitting there, and we're like, you need to take your shoes off because he's like counting numbers up, and
I actually
calculators. They have like little receipt roll.
Yeah. I really, honestly, I mean, I've become kind of spoiled on it, but I gotta say, I really like D&D Beyond. I like the fact that everything is calculated and tallied. I can just hit the button and it rolls for me. And
they are not whatever. They are not a sponsor.
No, they are not a sponsor. I doubt that they would take on. Yes.
One more thing about the show: if you want Critical Role, don't watch this show. That's not what this show is going to be. It's not going to be. It's going to be much more of a regular show, a regular D&D campaign where the DM tries to do voices and everyone else tries to do voices and stuff. And sometimes I
don't know. I think Ed and I and Ian as well do pretty damn good with our voices, man.
Of course, you think you do good.
It's Shark Week, motherfucker. Ian, you're another one of the other players that has been playing for a little while. What was your first experience? How did you get into D&D and get into gaming?
I was probably 17. A little bit of a late bloomer.
So like 3 years ago?
So yeah.
Yeah, must have been. It was probably 11 years ago. I was at my buddy's house. We were. I had heard they started playing D&D, and at the time I was like, nerds. Oh yeah, come and play with us. And it was this bizarre horror campaign where like my buddy Chris would turn out all the lights in his basement. It was only candle lit, and he made it like very ambient and weird and creepy. And he was really, really good about telling a story and really making you able to picture everything in your mind that was happening. And it was creepy shit. Like just scary and weird. To like the point where like, hey, can we take a break? I'm gonna go upstairs and get a glass of water. Like,
I'm gonna run home and hug my mother. I'll be back.
It's a cool campaign, and I don't even remember what it was that he was running at the time, but that was my very first experience. And then after that, I got into Savage Worlds, which is like, I've heard it described as baby's first D&D. All of your roles are like, you don't level up your pluses or minuses to a skill, you level up your die type. So it's a lot like different skill levels for swords and weapons and stuff like that in 5th edition. I guess I would say too.
Seems like fate.
But that was really easy, really accessible, and you could kind of like pull a campaign out of your ass. So I had a bunch of friends do that, and that was all the time, like around the time where we all started to get jobs and have to move away and stuff. So I had like maybe 5-6 campaigns start out, had like a few sessions go in, and then it would all kind of deteriorate.
Mhm.
But that's where I gained like a real interest for like the role-playing aspect, and like, oh, this is really cool. I hope I can like one day have a consistent group.
Yeah.
And we ran something at Kunin. We started doing back when I was working at Kunin Brewery. Me and Mitch, who was a coworker, we were like, let's meet every Thursday and do D&D at the bar. Like, we'll start a campaign, we'll do it, and that took off, and then also promptly failed. It was just like people couldn't meet up anymore, but it was a really fun thing, and we still play with those people. We've started a new campaign, but yeah, it's been like pretty consistently in my life since I was like 17. I go through like ebbs and flows, and it'll start and then it'll peak off. I think this is the longest campaign that I've ever been a part of.
Mhm.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
we're just coming up on a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't, and unfortunately, we can't, play every week, and
Yeah, well, we started off once a month, and now we're like every other week, every 3 weeks, because
we play more through COVID now.
Yeah, we play more during COVID, and we were playing together in the nerd basement on the big conference table, which was awesome. And now we've moved to Roll20 since
where I'm at.
And now we've moved to Roll20. As a matter of fact, Renee has one of the maps
in
the background there. Actually, several of them, but yeah, that's one of the maps that I made. That, but yeah, so we're playing on Roll20 now, which is not as great, but I'm glad that we still get together and we still actually have the ability to role play, and everyone's still playing their characters the same way. It's
right.
Yeah,
well,
like
you know what? After the end of every game, like, I spend like the next couple days, I feel, thinking about what comes next, how to role play, what I'm going to try and do next. And I am so anticipating the next game. And then it kind of tapers off for the next week or two. But then the couple days, like right now, we're going to play on Friday. I'm highly anticipating it. Cannot wait. And
you get excited. And it's like,
exactly. And it's like, they're like kind of coming up with like different things, like, okay, scenarios in your mind. Like, if this happens, this is how I want to react, and this is what I want to ask this character, and try and role play this or follow up with this as like just starting out, and then it just kind of flows throughout the next couple hours.
Well, like at the beginning of last session, so the session before that, we ended it with me essentially dropping.
Yeah.
And literally for the next 2 weeks, that's all I thought about. To the point where I actually texted Ed, like, as Klimbrum, to Bennick, being like, you're going to have to stop me. Because I'm going to do something real dumb.
Yeah, you were very aggressive a few times in the previous session.
Super pissed that I got KO'd by someone who was restrained. KO'd me.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like you
like
job.
Say what?
Wow, you must really suck at your job.
Yeah.
No,
right?
I love how much like this campaign, like this was like one of the more engaging campaign in the 2 years. Like, I love this, and it's just like, this is what I was missing with Magic the Gathering, because I used to do competitions with that, and it was just so goddamn expensive.
Wow.
I did that for 12
That's
years.
a special level of nerd right there.
Hey,
that's awesome.
I love Magic the Gathering.
That's awesome.
I have a box.
Oh, yeah.
I have 9 decks, and I have a couple of them that are like kind of working, but they don't. But it would just get me stressed in playing the game sometimes, because my card style is Prism and Life Suck and Life Game, which is a very strange style, but that's mine.
Well, that's that's a good kind of a good lead in. I mean, we are all kind of Dungeons and Dragons does tend to attract, people of, let's just say, more of a nerdish bent, which is fine, but thankfully now these days it has been attracting, people that aren't so much. I mean, if I bring it up again. Critical Role is a great example of that because, you've got Matt Mercer, who was probably an uber geek when he was a kid, still kind of is. But you got a guy like Travis Willingham who's like, looks like the opposite of the kind of guy. He looks like the kind of guy that would beat you up for playing Dungeons and Dragons. but in all honesty, is probably one of the best gamers, particularly best role players in Critical Role. So
he's a big scaredy cat too, actually.
What's that?
I said he's a big scaredy cat too. Doesn't like haunted houses, hates
ghost
stories. Anything that Matt does where it's ghosts and creepy stuff, he's like, ugh!
It's really funny. But so what? And it's true. I mean, one of the things like I gave away for charity was that they would video him going through a big haunted house in LA, where several of the other cast members were like scaring him in it. It was really great. But what are some of the other nerdy things that some of you guys do? Share with our audience, like, what are some of the other, they know that Chris and I are big Star Wars and Star Trek fans and comic book nerds and movie geeks and all whatever.
Anyone that's been listening to us for the last 4 years.
Exactly. Ed, you are a professor. You just got your doctorate in anthropology, correct?
Woo! Well, about 4 years ago, but yes.
Well,
he just published his. He actually got a leather-bound book of his thesis.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yes, I know you got your doctorate a couple years ago, but you got to publish thesis. That's
I
really awesome.
wrote down and ordered, the hard copy that a lot of people usually get right when they first graduate or whatever. I just didn't prioritize it for a while. There was other crap going on. But yeah, I do. I think when I was on the show before, I talked about being kind of an analog nerd. So most of my stuff is I do a lot of painting, miniatures. I play a lot.
But you're a big Warhammer guy.
Yeah, Warhammer, and I played my first game of Magic the Gathering last week.
That's right. You bought the video game.
I downloaded the Magic the Gathering Arena.
Too.
It's an online thing that's
Slippery slope.
is expensive.
It's free to play. It's it's got some clunkiness to it.
Yeah.
But
Magic the Gathering, the arena.
Yep. And all because of this one YouTuber who does all of these, like, it's Toy Galaxy, I think, and he talks about the history of all of, like, D&D, the history of G.I. Joe, the history of Transformers, and has all these multiple part videos. Like, he's got 4 parts on Robotech, and he's pretty entertaining. He actually kind of reminds me of, like, one of the Critical Role voice actor type. And
what's the name of this guy?
I think it's Toy Galaxy.
On YouTube?
On YouTube. I'm on my YouTube. Yep, Toy Galaxy. His name's Dan something or other. He hosts the show. Hilarious. And he did one on the history of Magic the Gathering. And we used to hate Magic because Magic was taking away, in college in particular, we would have trouble getting games off the ground because people were opting to play Magic instead of coming to play, at the time, it was all World of Darkness stuff. Mm-hmm. We were losing people to Magic and getting really aggravated.
I remember that. It was totally true.
And then over time, I had a lot of respect for Magic because my game stores that sell things like GW products, Games Workshop products, they depend on these card games to keep their doors open.
Absolutely.
I mean, some of these game stores are almost taking a loss, or at least getting like 10% on the dollar for Games Workshop goods. Yeah. So they don't make a ton of money off of them. But yeah,
it's very true. The collectible card game market is one of those things that has helped to maintain shops like comic shops and specialty stores that are kind of the lifeblood for this kind of stuff. So I can't tell you. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've seen stores that are saved by that kind of stuff. So
Also,
By
just
the way,
art.
what was that,
Say-
Sydney?
Oh, Magic the Gathering, the art too. Like I remember
Sure.
I went to Lexicon in Pennsylvania. It's an illustration convention. I got to meet like 4 of the Magic card painters, and I got to meet also the concept artists for Lord of the Rings, and I got to see the concept art paintings, which a lot of them are 10 feet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, and then now, like Wizards of the Coast is crossing over Magic with D&D setting books, like
Right.
the Mystic Odysseys of Theros just came out.
Hmm.
Oh, dude, Theros is such a great card
I'm
game.
a big like Greek and Roman history buff personally, and so that really intrigued me. I'm like, dude, we could do Clash of the Titans D&D style. Like, holy
Yeah.
crap!
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, ultimately, Wizards of the Coast got powerful enough to buy TSR. So the game that essentially inspired Magic the Gathering was then bought by Magic the Gathering
And saved by Magic the
and
Gathering.
saved. And yeah, literally it's saved. What were you saying, Sydney? There was what else?
Oh no, it just seeing like the paintings in person, because actually a lot of Magic cards are oil painters.
Right.
They're and like I met one of the females who's like few in the artist industry that paints them, and she's like, yeah, Wizard or Magic the Gathering, Wizard of the Coast. She's like, they know I like to paint girly things, so they only give me the girly cards because they know it fits with my style. And I like that they like ask them like, what do you want to do? And like one guy's like, I only play black cards that are vampires. Like I only do this. He's like this style. And it's just interesting to meet like all of like the artists, and like one of my friends actually is starting to get into working for Wizards of the Coast. He does some commission stuff. So it's like nice to see people like where like that was their dream, like in college, like kind of fruition, like just supporting the artists in general and like the craft on a different level.
Right on. Very cool.
By the way, Ed, one of our regular listeners and viewers, CD, said congrats on your PhD.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
Yeah, normally I'm sitting in chat during
yeah,
Tuesday
yeah,
night
that's
at
true.
like 9 p.m.
So Ian, you've also been on the show before, and
Everybody's been on the show before except for Sydney. Actually.
except for Sydney.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, that's right. Yeah, Pete was on the show too. I forgot.
Yeah,
You
you,
weren't
so,
there
but-
that
you
time.
weren't there, but
Yeah, I wasn't there. Right, you're filling in. So Ian, you talked about your LARPing. You're very big and very kind of into a particular LARP. Why don't you talk about that a little bit and tell us what else makes you a screaming nerd like the rest of us?
Oh boy. Well, I talked about it on one of the previous episodes, but I always have time to talk about Lancers. It's a group. It's a world that my friends started building around the time that we graduated high school. And I had always known that it was going on, and I moved out of the state for a little while and then came back and had an absence in my life. One, to like reconnect with people, and like, because I was gone for a little bit and I kind of like poo-pooed Michigan and then came back, and I wanted to like reconnect with friends and everything. And I've always been like giganto nerd. So I hit him up and I asked him what this group was. And he was like, okay, come out to a practice. Here's our wiki. And I clicked on that wiki link, and I was just gone from there for like a week. I did nothing but read like the hundreds of pages that they have on this wiki, building that world that we all collectively play in when we meet on the field and hit each other with foam sticks. But it just became like a huge source of inspiration, really, because like as a creative person, I play a lot of instruments. I've always been an artist. Like I was a tattoo artist for a while. I've done drawings and painting. It's easy for me to create something when I have an idea already in mind, like something to latch onto. So like fan art and stuff. Like when I have a theme to go with, like, okay, I'm going to draw a Star Wars picture. I draw a Star Wars picture. Coming up with something like on your own that is yours is difficult to do. So I found this world that was already built, and I read all about it, and I started going to the practices, and I started like bumping up on my sword style and everything, and I lost a little bit of weight too because it's extensive. But I started noticing like places where I could insert things into the lore and this world that there were things that didn't exist, and they didn't have folk songs. They didn't have like regional drinks or like botany or meals that would be indicative of this area. So I started like really delving in and like going hardcore nerd, and I started getting into the world building. So far I've given them like 5 different beer styles for their world that they have, which I actually brewed and put on tap at Bee Nectar.
Wow. Very cool.
They got a little mad at me at first, like Bee Nectar.
Yeah, they got.
We can't pronounce this. Can you call it something easier? And I was like, no.
Wow. Now, you know what? That's some real epic level nerd shit right there.
Yeah.
That is. You're not fucking around anymore. I mean, I thought you'd go, well, I performed at the Renaissance Festival. No, that's, you made beer for your LARP, dude. It was
More than once.
Yeah.
More than once.
Several times. And,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not the biggest nerd in the group either. Like,
the creator
he's making a video game from scratch. Well, he's using a program called RPG Maker, but he took one of the stories and the timeline and the world and everything, and he's making his own video game based on land service lore.
Your character's in it too, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm essentially the potions seller. Like maybe actually. Phelan is in the game. While he's not in the demo yet, he has plans to be like, you know how when you start off in an RPG in any game, like you have your basic level potions, and then later in the game you find like a guy that spells specialty potions and like higher level stuff with like more specific effects. So the main character in the game, his name is Nax Belaine, and he is a hearty drinker. And the game is built sort of like a drunken master style kind of fighting system where you consume alcohol and it gives you buffs and it makes you do better in a fight. It gives you special skill points that you can spend on special moves. So Phelan ends up being the person that you go to for like the artisan ales, the special stuff that you get, like the really heavy drams that you drink and make you do really well in battle.
The 9% alcohol beer that
the barley wine.
The barley wine, yeah.
So,
right.
And that leads into like Phelan just being Phelan's kind of got his fingers and toes in everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think Chris is going to tell us we got to start wrapping things up.
Well, we don't have to start wrapping things up yet, but we're getting closer to the end of time. So, and we still got some other people to get through. So
right. So let's. Sydney, you did tell us that you were a big, a competitive Magic the Gathering player, and that's a pretty serious. That's some nerd cred right there. What else do you do that, or are you into besides the D&D and stuff?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I come from more of like an art nerd background because I have a degree in illustration, which like many people who get art degrees.
Yeah, I need to see more of your work one of these days.
We've actually got 3 flat out artists in the in this group, and I haven't seen a logo yet. So in a year.
Well, since COVID hit, my work has been very busy.
Of course, it hasn't been. It's been 4 years. I haven't seen a logo for nerds yet. So
low blow.
Yeah. So I think like.
Oh, I deserve it. I fucking deserve it. You were saying, Sydney.
Oh no problem. I think like one of like my biggest like introduction with like the traditional thing, like me and my brother used to play Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64. Like I remember playing the first Mario Brothers and Super Mario, and like we couldn't save it until like we finished the whole thing. So we just stayed in the summer and just play it for 3 days and like never turn it off.
Right.
Yep.
And so my mom turned it off one time. We had to start over again. But like me and my brother used to do that all the time. Used to do all these video games and just pretty much just like us sitting together and just being like, okay. Or I'd watch him, or we just, if one person died, we'd hand the controller over, which that's usually how I like to play.
So you basically started off as a gaming nerd, like a video gaming nerd.
Yeah, I did sports, but like gaming stuff was fun. And then like I kind of didn't fall into like actually getting into hardcore gaming, I think, until like the PS2 came out, and it was Okami. It was actually still one of my favorite games, but it's for the visual creation and styling. It's like the best. And then it kind of went into Magic the Gathering, and I just liked having pretty dice, and I liked looking up cards, which still my crowning achievement is I sold a card for $120.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good because the next day it went down to 30.
Well, I don't know who this is, but somebody in the chat just said the guy with the beard is looking hella cute. So I'm not sure which guy with the beard they're talking about.
NGL, not gonna lie. Knocked 15, or XV. So, who knows? Ed, Ian, you guys could have a fan. I'm not sure.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Rock,
Boulder
paper, scissors,
parchment.
lizard, Spock.
Oh.
Damn. All right. So.
Boulder parchment cheers.
Boulder parchment. Cheers.
Oh god.
Right. All right, well, let's go. I mean, Sydney, being probably one of the youngest members, I think you are the youngest member of our group. That actually tracks. A lot of video gamers, or a lot of gamers these days, are like role playing gamers, D&D gamers, and stuff like that. Started off playing video games first, as opposed to people like Chris and Ed and myself, who probably started off as a D&D guy before we got heavy.
I played Pong before I started playing D&D, so
Yeah.
Showing your
maybe the Atari. Maybe the Atari.
Yeah, I mean the Atari 2600 was when we
adventure, man.
Yes.
All you were was a fucking sword.
It's like a little dot.
Yeah.
Moving around
All right, so let's see. Renee, what about you? What else makes you a nerd?
When I was super young, I would watch my older brothers play Final Fantasy.
Yep.
And eventually, when I got old enough, I could play myself. But yeah, essentially console gamer, which then went to online gaming. I was really big into Team Fortress 2, as well as Day of Defeat, especially in college. And then that, of course, led into other giant MMOs when Chris actually introduced me to Star Wars Online, which I fell in love with, which also then led into MechWarrior. And through COVID, when we started this D&D group, I wanted Fig because I thought they were cool. And during COVID, Chris taught me how to start painting, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And now apparently I play MechWarrior. I'm sorry, now I play Warhammer.
Play Warhammer, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and honestly, like your painting has been really, really great. Well, that's let's also you also were a big Ren Fair.
Yeah, like I was a participatron for a long time, which then, of course, I volunteered at a shop, and then eventually I became Boca's beer wench and actually started working there for a few years.
So you and Chris also both were very involved and still are to some extent in steampunk.
Yeah,
and,
that's actually how Chris and I met, was actually at a steampunk convention.
I remember.
And a big anime nerd growing up. So like, I mean, I remember Yumicon before, like, when it was still at the Hyatt.
Before they sold out.
When it was at the Hyatt, like I was at Yumicon its first 4 years, up until like the first year at the Rensen, when I had a 12 or 14-year-old rip my dress, and I'm like, I'm done. And blamed me.
Oh.
So I kind of threw him down an escalator.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't get kicked out. He got kicked out of the con because I knew security.
That's where Clembrum came from.
I was going to say, it sounds like Clembrum right there.
Well, it's a cross between Clembrum and Lauka.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
You
like
ripped my dress!
So, I mean, in all fairness, that was the first time I had debuted the blue dress. Like what I am known for in the steampunk community, with my giant hoop skirt and the black and blue dress. That was the first day I had debuted it.
Sure.
And some little fucker ripped it. And I was livid. Yeah. Went down an escalator.
Well, that leads. I mean, what Renee was just talking about, that kind of leads me into Pete here. Pete, you know, your sister here was talked about watching you play Final Fantasy and stuff when you guys were.
Oh yeah, like to the point where when I was so young, like I remember Pete reading the dialogue out loud for me because I couldn't read yet.
Wow.
Yeah, or not read fast enough.
And we're not talking about like on SNES. We're talking about doing the emulator on the computer.
Yeah.
Like because we didn't have it,
right?
Or we couldn't find the actual unit. We were able to download it and emulate it.
Oh God, I'm so old.
and that's how we play. It was like Final Fantasy 6 or 3 is like in the US, but yeah, big video game, big Final Fantasy fan. I played them all. I just finished like Remake, and I actually love Remake so much that it got me back into the original 7 that I'm replaying right now. But on top of that, like I remember like Renee, like we would be playing like, as Sydney said, like N64. You know, I remember Renee little. My brother and I would be playing, switching back and forth, and Renee would like trip over the controller, and N64 would drop to the ground, and you know we would be worried that like we lost everything, but everything was okay because it was pretty durable.
Fairly confident I broke the Sega Genesis from that exact thing more than once.
But we, at the same time, we would be playing. My brother and I would play like Star Wars games on the computer as well. One of us would be doing like controlling the gunner, and the other one would be doing the manual controls for the spacecraft. So that way it was a one-player game, but it got us to both play at the same time.
Right.
You know, big anime fan. Renee actually got me into anime. I remember like I was in high school and first seeing Renee watching Dragon Ball Z, for example, and like Frieza like comes in and Goku is like fighting Frieza, and then like a month later, like I remember distinctly 5 minutes until I blow up this planet, and a month later it's like 1 minute is still left until the planet is about to explode, and I'm like, what the hell happened in a month, Renee? Explain it to me. And she explained it to me. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I got to watch what happened in a month that only 5 minutes went by.
Well, they have DBZ abridged now.
Yeah,
I know, but this was before that, like Toonami time.
Yeah.
And then, but like
then Adult Swim.
Yeah, but mostly it's still video games is still my biggest passion.
We're movie nerds too.
Yeah, movie nerds. I converted my basement from a storage area to like a video game / theater. Put in a projector, screen, nice couch, and it even has a concession stand even, because all of us actually, Renee, Rich, and I worked at a movie theater for probably 5 to 10 years.
Very long time.
Like between each of us, so big into movies. And I get to play those games like on the big screen now, like I always envisioned. And
you're a big Doctor Who fan too. You do Doctor Who cosplay and gotten your kids into doing Doctor Who cosplay.
That's right. Yeah. So I was on the Doctor Who episode the one time, I think episode 50, if I'm not mistaken. I was on with Alex and you, and it was one of the times early on that Russ couldn't make it. And we went to a couple conventions. You know, I dressed my kids up in little like homemade Dalek costumes, and I went as a doctor.
It's stinking adorable.
Pictures. It's a freaking adorable.
Yeah. My wife went as Clara, my favorite companion, or as a weeping angel one year. And we met
Billy Piper, John Barrowman.
David Tennant,
John
Barrowman, and Billy Piper. Got pictures with them. I got them also mounted up in my theater room. So
Well, wasn't it
yeah.
wasn't it when you met John Barrowman that he actually like started like directing? Like, okay,
Yeah, like-
you two go here, you stand here, you do
Abs-
this, Billy, you do this.
Exactly, yeah. He saw us and was so excited seeing my kids as little Daleks. Because you're talking like cardboard boxes that are painted with like little puffballs that are painted and like hats that stick out, and like they were clueless. They had no idea what a
And
Dalek
they were
is.
what, like
We-
how old were
They were
at
like
the time?
4 or 6 years old, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, they had no idea what it was. Now they watched a few episodes, they understand it, but at the time they had no idea. But everyone was loving them, and John Barrowman absolutely loved it. And like the pictures, like he is like getting attacked, and the kids are like, "What the hell is going on?" Almost. And he posed all of us, and he posed like him and told Billy what to do, and they snapped the picture, and it was like it was one of the most glorious moments that I had in like nerddom, is like reacting like and meeting John Barrowman in that way. And I know that Renee, you actually got to meet John Barrowman in one of like his epic moments.
Yeah, Chris and I saw him at Fandom Fest.
Yeah.
And it was actually my introduction to Doctor Who, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I was there for Firefly, and John Barrowman was the next panel, and Chris was like, "Oh, like to stay for the next one." I'm like, "Okay." And I had seen a couple episodes of Doctor Who here and there, but I fell in love with John Barrowman as a person that I had to like just crank through all of Eccleston to get to John Barrowman in Tenet.
Yeah,
Because of his one line.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was actually the one line that he's known for. We were actually there at that panel. This one girl was really nervous, and she's like, "Sorry, I'm super nerdy." And he's like, I'm super weird, whatever she said. And he's like, "Don't ever apologize for being who you are, because normal people never apologize for being assholes."
Yeah.
Which is just fantastic.
The wisdom
Yes.
of John Barrowman.
Yep.
Yes.
The guy is too good for this world.
He is awesome.
Didn't realize how much Doctor Who overlap there was, because I haven't really brought it up, but it came up a lot when I was on the show before. But I have an Easter egg in my dissertation that's like a total Doctor Who riff. I hit "never cruel or cowardly, never give up, never give in" line somewhere in the 5 in my dissertation.
Nice.
I'm still waiting for someone to pick up on it, but now that I've told you guys,
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get it.
And I'm newer Doctor Who. I'm not like Chris in old school Doctor Who. I've only seen like from the revival with Eccleston and beyond.
Yeah, Tennant's my favorite Doctor now. But my favorite overall Doctor of the older Doctors was actually his father-in-law.
Yes.
Peter Davidson.
Davidson. I'm a huge Peter Capaldi fan. Like,
I like Capaldi.
Amazing to me, and unfortunately, Amazon Prime just yanked all the Doctor Who.
Yeah,
that's because they're on. That's because they're on HBO Max now.
It's on HBO Max.
There's another streaming service that you got to get now.
Or Pirate Bay.
Yeah,
Arr!
right.
That's the only place I could get them back when I first started watching these.
That's true.
2007, cruising. I mean, the weirdest episode moment of my life in about 2007, flipping through the channels, and I hear the Doctor Who theme, and I'm not even paying attention, and I had this like just wave of chills
Nostalgia.
run through my body, going like, I remember that from somewhere. And I sat down and I'm like, where do I remember this from? And I had to really chew back through my memory, and finally remembering watching it with Tom Baker as a kid on a little black and white TV up in my cottage up north, because the only channel we could get was PBS. And my parents would drag me up there every year. And it was a sort of a almost religious moment of rediscovering Doctor Who after so many years. And so then I pirated the first 3 seasons or 2 seasons and like caught up.
My very first Doctor Who episode was Blink. I just caught it. Yeah, I randomly caught it on like a Doctor Who marathon, like on a Saturday morning. And that was my very first episode I had ever seen. I'm like, holy shit, this is really good.
I accidentally discovered Doctor Who like you. I remember I had the Sci-Fi Channel running constantly in my apartment when I was going to college, and I'd be up till 6 a.m. every day. So I just had stuff in the
As you do in college.
Yeah, so I ended up seeing like pretty much almost all of Doctor Who at one point because they just had the episodes running every single day, and I had like a similar schedule. So I saw like parts from the beginning, but like David Tennant was like actually the first one where I sat down, I'm like, stopped painting, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch this now.
He's pretty.
He's pretty.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one in the group that is really not a
Whovian?
A Whovian. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I've seen a number of episodes that are great. I've seen the Van Gogh episode. I've seen Blink. I've seen a number of. I'm like, you can't watch everything, and I just can't. I'm like, ugh. I'd want to go back. If I were to start watching it, I'd want to go back to the Peter Eccleston.
Chris
Eccleston.
No, Chris Eccleston.
Chris Eccleston. And start from there. And because I remember watching it a little bit
You
when I
would
was a
be
kid.
surprised how quickly you can get through it.
Well, and I want to go back.
Especially someone who went through the entire Star Trek, like
From beginning to
like from
end.
beginning to
Right.
end in
God damn.
chronological order.
That's right. I did. Took like 2 years to do it, but I did it.
Someone on the chat is talking about starting from the beginning, 50 years plus, which is admirable. But if you're gonna start with 2005, you can't skip Eccleston, even though people grumble. He's
He's awesome.
He's
so angry.
He's a grumpy doctor.
Love him.
Right.
In my opinion, the scariest monster to date of any Doctor Who monsters is in his run. I don't care the silence, the
Are you talking about the creepy Are You My Mummy?
Are You My Mummy?
Yes.
God.
Yep.
Yes.
The
little child.
That is the creepiest of any.
Children are cute.
Yeah, of anything.
Children are
is
creepy.
Are You My Mummy?
Children are scary.
And I think that may have been John Barrowman's introduction.
It was.
It was, yeah. John Berman was in that one, yep.
During the Blitz.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you want to see the original Doctor Who's, I believe that they are on BritBox, which you can get through Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, but from what I understand, you can't get like there's a lot of them that were lost.
Yeah, a lot of the early ones are lost, so you can only see. You get like the very first like 5 episodes, and then there's a bunch that are missing, and then the second Doctor has some that are missing, and then the third Doctor you start getting more into what all of the episodes were, and then there's most of Baker, and then all of the other ones beyond him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the BBC reused tape, and they didn't think anyone would ever want to watch these again.
Yeah.
Right.
Recorded over them.
Well, I love that they use, or were going to use, the guy from Harry Potter, Filch.
Yes.
As the first Doctor, because he looks just like him.
Right.
Well, they did do that, and I thought that he did a phenomenal job of like with Peter Capaldi and going back.
Yeah,
to the
I never
first
actually
Doctor
I haven't seen that episode. I haven't seen all of Capaldi yet.
Chris, did you see the 8-minute special where Peter Davidson and David Tennant cross over?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the web special.
Yeah.
That was
And all-
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff leading up to the 50th, where they brought in the 8th Doctor, who's actor, the name I can't remember, and they showed where the War Doctor came in and how that all happened. John Hurt was amazing.
Yep.
Yes.
They wanted Eccleston to play John Hurt's role, but he wouldn't do it, so they had to create a new Doctor.
Well, and that it explained why Eccleston why his Doctor was the way he was, because he's the first one after the War Doctor. That's why he's still so angry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have an unpopular opinion about Matt Smith that I don't know if this is the right place for, but I find his Doctor to be
Highly annoying and refuse to watch.
no, I mean somewhat, but I find him horribly evil. I think he is deeply flawed and dangerous. I think he's a terrible example of the Doctor. If you watch it through a different lens, he's toxic.
I just don't like that he doesn't have eyebrows.
I can't get past that
I never
forehead.
liked him. Yeah, I never liked.
I don't like him.
And he wore the fezzes, and it made it worse.
And one of the things I hated about when they went to him for the Doctor, the show didn't become the show was no longer Doctor Who. It was the companions of Doctor Who, because it was all about Amy.
Yeah.
That's what the entire show was about. Even the intro was about her, not about the Doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
But
And
then,
since then, that's what it's been. When it was Capaldi, it was all about Clara.
We haven't talked about Jodie Whittaker at all.
While I was watching Matt Smith, like that's when I stopped watching. It was when right around the time where like those little people took over his body and he faked his death. I was like, okay, this is too convoluted. I'm done.
I did like Clara. I did like her. I
Clara's
like
she's my favorite. But Jodie Whittaker is great. I think that she is phenomenal as a Doctor. Companions, 3 is too many.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
If you see it, like it's too busy. It's too. I think it's too much of like focus on switching between them. I think they need to have 1 or 2 that are more on the focus.
Yeah, I think I also really enjoyed like the final Doctor, like in like when they closed up and buttoned it up for like the whole like male Doctor series. I know it's very unpopular as well, but I just loved how like kind of angry and like upset with like humanity and like the worlds as like a whole, and just like this weird like love interest, and then it just faded off, and then he ended up with River, and it was like kind of like a nice thing.
What?
The Last Actor.
Oh.
I liked him.
Capaldi.
Yeah,
Oh,
Capaldi.
okay.
He's a phenomenal actor.
The Husbands of River Song is the episode you're probably referencing.
Well, did they end up in that restaurant in the mountains? Like,
yeah, that's the one. Like the Husbands of River Song is like that Christmas episode, which I think was the very last one.
Yeah.
Angry Owl Doctor.
Yeah, I like
the angry
You
owl
open up
Doctor.
bottle caps with these eyebrows.
yeah, that was great.
I think I created a monster when I brought up Doctor Who.
Right, like I turned into a Doctor.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I did want to mention something, Chris. Though,
Yes.
like going back to D&D, though, I have to like give props to you as a DM that you are so engaging with like how you set up the story, how you play the NPCs, that it like sucks us in. At least for me, that. Like that one time, for example, that you played that, I think that like the town master of Fandolin, that I'm pretty sure your wife was ready to punch you.
Yeah,
because you were playing it so well.
But my character wasn't in the room, and I'm just like,
I know, but
God
it's like
damn it.
you like I want to give you like just credit and props words due that like we wouldn't be here now if it weren't for like how much effort that you actually put into it. And I want to say thank you for that.
I got to agree. Chris has been doing a great job.
I appreciate it.
Really great.
You spend a lot of hours on it. You really do.
Yeah,
I try.
And it's fantastic.
Yes, I look forward to it every single time when we plan it, and I get disappointed if we like have to postpone it even a week.
Yep.
It's been a source of inspiration. Just like as far as the development of the overarching canon of Phelan, but like also the songs that like I got really involved with the character, and I've explored things about Phelan that I've never explored before. And I've like the songs.
It sounds so dirty.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that you're doing songs for your spells now.
Yeah, the songs for the spells. I came up with like because I told you guys on D&D Beyond, you can edit the names of your spells.
Yeah.
So I put like in parentheses next to the name of the spell, the chord structure that I use and the parody that I play. I have a set list now. I don't have a spell book.
You have a set list. Nice. That's awesome. Yes, Thunderstruck for when you're playing anything thunder or lightning based.
Dissonant Whispers. That was the one I liked.
Dissonant Whispers was fantastic.
I only nailed that one down. I was like, I have to do this one for this one because Russ hated it so much.
I think I even came up with one for you. I think whatever. Or slime.
But all right, well, we should probably wrap things up. We're at about an hour and 50, so
We definitely should. Guys, thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you very much. It was fantastic. Chris and I have been talking about wanting to have more guests on, and I can't think of a better way to kick off having more guests on is having our good friends from our D&D group. It's been a blast. Ian and Sydney, we definitely got to get together and do some social distance sketching or something, because I'd love to see more of your guys' work.
Oh, that'd be great.
And I need to do more sketching anyway, and that will encourage me to do that.
So watch for Tavern Knights, though.
Yes, watch for
coming
Tavern
very
Knights.
soon. We're going to be playing Friday night and possibly streaming it, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
7 p.m.
So yeah,
you guys
so
are
guys,
just about done with the current dungeon that you're crawling through, and then we're going to start the whole next section, which is a good time to start. So
yeah, it's pretty great. We skipped over, we wanted to establish ourselves as a party before, and the group dynamic and everything before.
And let the newbies learn a little bit.
Right, before getting into the whole streaming aspect. And
What is a D8 look? Which one's a D8?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What do I roll to hit again? Damn it. All right.
Yep.
So, but hey, everybody, Nerds with Alcohol. Be sure to download and stream us at all the places you can find quality podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, we are available on iTunes, the Google Play Store, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and of course, you can download and stream all of our episodes at nerdswithalcoholshow.com. We are also available on Twitch and now on YouTube. You can find it. All of the stuff there.
Drinking Nerds.
Correct.
YouTube.
Drinking Nerds on.
And you can follow us. Yeah, you can follow us on most of the social medias. We are on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. We are on Twitter at Drinking Nerds and Instagram, Drinking Nerds. We're also on Untapped. Just search for Drinking Nerds and send us a friend request, and we'll get you added.
Exactly. So yeah, thanks again, guys, and this was a whole lot of fun, a lot of blast.
Yeah, it was. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming out.
Much
I'd
fun.
like to
Thanks for
thank
having us.
everybody, Renee, Sydney, Ian, Ed, Pete, everybody for coming out. Thanks a lot for joining us and spending a couple hours with us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Next session.
And we'll see you guys on Friday.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Wait.
it's going to be a great time as
All right.
usual.
Well, all right. I think on that note, until next time,
Slancha.
Slancha.
Prost.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. I don't think they knew that you could like drop from the stream but still stay in the Zoom meeting.
It's fine. That was a good show, Chris. That was a really good show.
I had a lot of fun.